Good morning, all. Welcome back to the session Role of Faculty in Prevention of Substance Abuse Among Youth and Drug Refusal Techniques. I, Shilpa Joshi, going to be the moderator for this session. And we are very privileged to have an eminent speaker, well-known psychiatrist, Dr. P.V. Bandari with us today. Sir, I welcome you to this session. I request Dr. Geeta Maya to escort our speaker to the dais. Dr. Bandari began his medical career with an MBBS degree from JJM Medical College, Davangere. He has supplemented his medical degree with a diploma in psychological medicine from Mahe, where he was awarded the best outgoing student and gold medal by Psychiatry Department, and a diploma of National Board Psychiatry from Father Mullah's Medical College, Mangalore. Dr. P.V. Bandari is a recipient of numerous awards, including the S.S. Jairam Award, awarded by Karnataka Psychiatry Society for the year 2005 and 6, the Udupi Taluk Sahitya Sammelana Award in 2009, and District Level Kannada Rajyosava Award in 2008, and the CA-DA-BMS Distinguished Psychiatrist Award in 2012, the Spandana Award by the Karnataka Psychiatry Society in 2012 for his exemplary service in alcohol de-addiction and many more. Dr. Bandari has held several prestigious positions in various institutes and also in the state. He has served as a consultant psychiatrist at Lombard Memorial Hospital, Udupi, a lecturer in a Department of Psychiatry at Anapoya Medical College, an honorary psychiatrist at the Government District Hospital, Udupi, and also assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Kasturba Medical College, Mahi. He has also written several articles and books on the subject of mental health and is a regular resource person for the talks and workshops on mental health related topics in the schools and college across the district. Dr. Bandari is currently working as a director and consultant psychiatrist at Dr. A.V. Baliga Group of Institution, Udupi. Sir, it's our great privilege to have you here. Sir, now I request you to take over the session.
At the outset, I thank the Department of Student Affairs, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, which is doing a really good job. I was looking at the report which was released today, and also the small video. So whatever is done in Manipal is done with style, and really what I notice is to the core they have covered many sections of our students, and I compliment Dr. Geeta Maya for this and her team. And today's program, that is this training the trainers, this is something which is very dear to me, because what I feel is we have been working in this field of de-addiction. In fact, I should say I started my career in psychiatry when we were in the MIT campus. So I remember Dr. Somnath Sengupta, he was my teacher. He was a professor of psychiatry. We first conducted our study on this alcohol and substance use in college students in the MIT campus. The modus operandi was very different, because we know when you approach a student, nobody will tell. So at that time, my father was the principal of MIT. So in fact, I took permission. I do remember my teacher, Dr. Sharma, telling me that you are misusing your father's, power in a lighter vein, not in the... And what we did was, we made a questionnaire. I don't know, Ratnakar Samant, whether he is here now. He was one of the persons who helped us. We made a questionnaire in English. This was about, do they know somebody who takes this drug, or are they using? And it will be an anonymous thing. Each one had to give. And you will be surprised, that time MIT was not this big. I remember it was 2,000 people, now it is 20,000, am I right? Campus? MIT campus? Okay, no, MIT is around 10. Because I remember by the time my father became the Pro Vice Chancellor, he used to tell MIT is going to be a huge campus. That time it was 5,000. First it was 2,000 when we started. So slowly it has grown. And you will be surprised, we got only 38 entries. 38 people had volunteered. In 2000, you can say 1,000 students were in the hostel. 38. And in fact, I remember Dr. Sengupta telling me, even this is a good number to start with, because we will try to analyze. And you won't believe so much of information we got. How this drug is being, supplied. What are the drugs? Only in these 38. Now, why I am telling you this is, the students can be a very big source of information. Not only that, many students share their anguish. They know, they want to help people. Probably, this is around 22 years back. I don't know, it was either 97, I did my post-graduation 96 to 98 in Manipal. So, I think it was 97, we did this particular, and this is how, in fact, I developed interest in this treatment of addiction, because I came across few students who sought help after this. There were at least I remember 3-4 students, because we had those days we didn't have the mobile. We used to give them a number of the department, so they sought help. So we started off. So basically, what I realize is in this from 1996 to 2021, the 25 years, faculty have a very big role. They can, identify, guide, and those days there was no student support center, there was no student affairs department, nothing. But still we had lot of people who were interested. I compliment Dr. Shalini Sharma, who was, I think, even now she visits the campus, who was instrumental in helping us, guiding us in going about. In fact, I can tell you a big story about how we have worked in this campus itself. One more thing was the street play. This is, I think, 5 years ago. I had a very high hopes. The students doing street play, I thought huge student population will come and watch. And the students who took part were 15, bystanders including us was 15. Now, why I am telling you this is how some projects can fail, because for me, what I have seen in the community is street play invokes lot of crowd, spectators. Here the problem was, if you join the street play, many may feel that you are having the problem. So please understand this, because see, the aim of this lecture is to educate you about what actually happens when you deal with these people with drug abuse. What the mind does not know, eyes will never see. So in fact, later on when I went into research that has taken place, what we did was not a correct thing. So no student would like to be branded, no student, so I will come to that. One of the things all teachers should understand is this particular thing. Most of the students are reluctant recipients of your help. Please understand this. They don't want anybody in the college to know it. They don't want the teacher to know it. They don't want the parent to know it. These are the things which you have to keep in mind. And we can't ignore this problem. Please understand this, because there have been institutions where when we tell them, in fact, I have been quite proactive when it comes to this. I have personally gone to the police superintendent of police office also to give a complaint. I don't fear when I have enough proof, but when I don't have proof, I will not make any allegation. So whenever there have been lot of students from a particular college, when we write to the college also, I have written official emails. The response I get many a times is, Bad apples are there everywhere. So if one apple is, if a basket has one bad apple, we have to keep it aside. That's not the thing. This bad apple can be my own son. I don't know how many of you have seen this Udta Punjab, where the inspector's brother himself becomes the victim. This same inspector who was taking money from this drug mafia, his brother becomes the victim. Only then he understands. So it cannot be ignored. Whether you like it or not, it is one of the important reasons for poor scholastic performance of your students. Please understand this. Suicides. You take any campus suicide, out of 100 campus suicides, 30 to 40 are from because of either alcohol or drug abuse. Please look into research, you will know, because most of you are academicians. Please understand this. Drowning. Often this is not made out in the media, we hide it or we don't want to tell it. Most of the drownings, most of the accidents, most of the criminal activities that occur in the campus are as a result of this drug abuse. Please understand this, because we have seen as we have worked with police refer cases, and sometimes there are referrals from the court. What we have come to know is students selling laptops, stealing and selling laptops, and the main reason is they are not getting money from the parents, because parents know that this fellow is into drug use, he can't control his drug use, he steals somebody's mobile, somebody's laptop. These are all things occurring in every campus. Please understand this. We have when it is a college, when there are adolescents, definitely you are going to have all these problems. So I come back to this, you can't ignore this problem. See, any problem if you want to tackle, first thing is awareness, second thing is acceptance, third thing is analysis, fourth thing is action. I think I should really compliment the student affairs who have become very active in this particular thing. I think each and every student who comes into our campus should be made aware that these things are deleterious to their health. They can ruin their academic activity, as Professor Sabahit was rightly pointing out. I can tell you umpteen number of stories of our own boys who have suffered because of this. They have dropped out of the campus. They have ruined their life. They have committed suicide. They have become criminals. All people from very good homes, because many times we think that it is parenting which is responsible, it is friend who is responsible. Not so. If you look at the stories, which in fact I can tell you umpteen number of stories, father and mother both are civil servants, father and mother professors, father and mother religious people, and their children become. So you don't know who is going to become like this. And let me tell you, it is not heroin, it is not morphine, it is not NMDA, what is that, phencyclidine, it is not all these drugs. The first thing we should be careful is this. It starts with cigarettes and gutka. In fact, I took it from Vijaya Karnataka. Once there was a tagline which said, earlier days it was kings who were ruling India. Now it is pan king, smoking and drinking, it seems. All kings. So basically, this cigarette smoking, alcohol, cannabis, these are the gateway drugs. None of our students suddenly become heroin addicts. Please understand this. None of them suddenly start this codeine. It's usually they come through this gate. So education should start from this. How bad is the cigarette? In fact, I remember the current vice chancellor of NIMHANS, Pratima Murthy, she always had a tagline. She used to say, don't blame willpower. Will's power is stronger than willpower. So the will's cigarette, the will's power is much stronger than willpower. Understand this. Tell the students how this can be the gateway to death. gateway to dropping out of the college. These are the three major things. If you are going to be trainers, there is no point telling them all these bigger drugs. First start with this, because most likely they are going to enter through this. So before this, why do this student population get into this? This is something which you should know. See, this teenage is a very peculiar age. College going students, say from 13 to 23, they have, if you go by scientific research, a very immature brain. And in fact, what happens is there is always this generation gap, teachers and students, parents and students. In fact, one of the researchers, they had put forward a very beautiful analogy. Our students, their brain is like a sports car, it seems. It is very colorful, sleek, it's quite thin, go fast, take risk. Our brain, like mine and yours, is like ambassador car. We want more mileage, we want to be slow, we want comfort. So if you see this analogy, you will understand why your college, your ward or your son or your mentee, why he is after this. In this age, one is peer pressure. Tu pita nahi, tu Gandhi hai. We have brought Gandhi to that level now. That is the tragedy of this nation. Tu Gandhi hai, tu pita nahi, cigarette pita nahi, useless fellow. So to gain acceptance of the peers, then curiosity. Some friend tells him, I will come to that. See, once, do you think I am an addict? I take when I want. I know how to relax. Learn to relax. So, this causes relaxation, right? Let me have it. Parties are meant for that. I will tell you a real fact. One girl in a department here, I will not tell the name, okay, a girl, she was defamed because she was the only girl who was not drinking. So she went into depression. It is a fact. No, see, this is the thing. Like people will, this arouses the curiosity of the student. Why? I should see what is it. What will alcohol do? What will cigarette do? It gives that kick. It makes me more confident. Let me tell you, very scientific, 30 ml of alcohol does reduce anxiety. If I tell you that it is wrong, then I am a fool. 30 ml of alcohol in small doses is an anxiolytic. But the problem is 30 becomes 60 for this anxiolytic effect, 30 becomes 60, 60 becomes 90, 90 becomes quarter, quarter becomes bottle. So and as the dose increases, it becomes anxiogenic. Initially in small doses it was removing the anxiety. As the dose increases, they start drinking more and they become more anxious. And ask your students how do they start? One fellow had social anxiety, he can't speak on stage. And nowadays you have a lot of these group discussions, so some friend told him, 30 marle pura dar jayega. And he gets into it. So this is how they go on increasing. So curiosity, experimentation, peer pressure and modeling. You see the advertisements, they see their own classmates or seniors. Again I would quote Udta Punjab, where one of these rock stars, I think Tommy, I forgot his name, I think it's Tommy. So he is the main person, lot of youth follow him. In fact, I remember one of my clients, he he was very good in this rap. He followed Eminem. I don't know, the younger generation will know more about Eminem. So, in fact, one of the reasons why he went into this addiction was he felt that he can sing like Eminem, he can come out with the flow of raps like Eminem by taking drugs, because Eminem was taking. In fact, Eminem has publicly told about it, and his fight to come out of it is something which every youth should know. So, this is why, for peer acceptance, for being more courageous, seeing the role models, our youth get into drugs. So, we need to, when we work with them, we need to understand their psyche well. So, what are the signs? How a teacher, I mean, please don't generalize. I am just giving you the data as this is a scientific gathering where a lot of teachers who are venturing into this, you should know. Bloodshot eyes, skin is flushed, they are usually, when you look at them, you make out their skin is, I mean, they are quite, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಕೆಂಪು ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಒಂಥರ ಇದು ಕಣ್ಣೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಂಪು, these sort of things. Then if you look into their hands, okay, usually there will be what is that, some marks. When patients walk into my room, usually I make out in odd areas, like see the veins in the legs, there are some marks, abscesses, and the friends and relatives tell you either there is weight loss or weight gain. You will be surprised, and all of you can take these slides. I will leave it this one. Please distribute whoever is interested. Okay. So basically, some of them have weight loss. It depends on the drugs. Cigarette, cannabis, usually there is weight loss. Opium, there is weight gain because it stimulates the appetite. So, and of course, when they talk, there is impaired speech. When they walk, there is a incoordination. You can make out when they come to the class, or unusual smell in breath or clothing. Now the problem is sanitizers also have a very unusual breath, and because you are bathing ourselves with, we are all bathing ourselves with sanitizer. Wherever you go, it is now sanitizer. But still, you have an unusual smell in breath or clothing, and they complain usually of inability to sleep. If you are working in student counseling centers, many of them come with these complaints. They tell that they are not, getting good sleep. They will hide this because simply they don't want to tell you this. Please understand this. And of course, poor hygiene. You will notice they have not taken bath. They are, they have not shaved for days, long hairs. That doesn't mean everybody who has this, please don't mistake, okay, don't generalize. But as a psychiatrist, I have to tell you certain ways you can identify. And in the class, the complaint is they are unable to focus. There is problem in school, or the college, or with authorities. I remember one referral from here only in a neighboring campus, because one of the students told the teacher to get her eyes checked in ophthalmology, because the student felt that he was being unnecessarily targeted, and he got up and told. And how I know is the student was taking help from me. He came and told me, this is almost 15, 20 years ago. Sir, this is what I did. I went, I was intoxicated. He was taking what is called as this TD Jessic. So, buprenorphine injection. Okay. So, I took and went, and in front of the whole class, and they rusticated. That is the word they used to say. Nowadays, I think it has changed. They have rusticated me from the class. I told openly. So, lying and deceiving, especially the parents. They will tell. Another real example I will give you. One student here used to call up his parents and tell he requires 2,000 rupees for a lancet. Poor father, who was a farmer, he doesn't know what is this lancet. You know, lancet, it costs hardly some 5 rupees. He will say 2,000 rupees. And father will say, Mera beta doctor ban raha hai. let me give him. Lying, deceiving, they have lot of mood swings. These are the people who are hyperactive and they have no inhibition. As I told you about the student, in front of the class he blurted out things. And of course, indifference to family, indifference to friends, no obligations. And when you talk to them, many of them when they are sober, they express their guilt. They are feeling bad. Of course, they over the days they develop depression, decline in self-esteem, and of course, self-hatred. Many of them indulge in self-injurious behaviors. So these are certain behavioral signs. Of course, many of these behavioral signs are signs of other psychological disorders also. You need to know about it when you are working as counselors or when you are working as mentors to your students. Please understand, students can have a wide variety. These behavioral signs could be manifestation of some other psychological issue also. Now, how do you deal with them? So, first thing is the real concern, because I will tell you, I have had first hand experience working with counseling centers of the college. My institution itself, we have been running counseling centers. So, and also with Manipal, with Nitte, we have very close liaison. And what I have noticed is a teacher who is concerned can work wonders. Please understand this. You should understand that this is a medical problem. There is no point giving big lectures. There is no point advising him. I will tell you about that later. Second thing is confidentiality. Never discuss, oh, that fellow is a drug addict. You don't know. If you tell this in the staff room, another 10 people will have a bad, this one. See, our society still lacks sensitivity regarding these sort of problems. Many teachers think that it is lack of willpower, bad parenting, or it is a rotten apple. No, it is, as I told you, if my son is that rotten apple, I will understand the importance. Please know this. So, confidentiality. Third is, if you want to deal with him, take his consent. Without his consent, nothing can be done. Please understand this. Because I have been advising a lot of in MIT when there were problems, or in Nitte, every time. One thing I have noticed is, if you enforce certain things without their consent, they will not follow it. We have had instances where they have, when you have subjected them for urine drug screen, I will come to that, what is this and all, they have given water. What can you do? Did you understand? So, it becomes very important. 4 C's: concern, confidentiality, consent, and checking urine for drug screen. This is the mainstay. That only will give you, but without the first 3 C's, it becomes very difficult. If you are doing to get him punished, see, there is total lack of concern. Please understand this. Because I have had administrators who have called me, not from here, in different institutions, we want that fellow to be punished. Can you give a report that he has taken the substance? I tell them no. I will give a report, I will never give a report which will spoil the life of that boy. Please understand this. It is my own child. See, it is somebody's child. So we need to handle it in a different way. That way is this referral to treatment. Even in fact, I have told the judicial officers, one thing I notice is how many NDPS, there is a very good act, I am sure, I think in the afternoon Vinod is speaking, or our Ashwin, Vinod, he is speaking on the drug laws. See, in India, all laws are very good, but the problem is with their implementation. How many of them are really implemented well? So, in fact, this NDPS Act very clearly tells that these addicts have to be referred. Neither the legal system understands this, nor the police understand it. nor the academic institutions understand this. Unless and until you subject them to scientific treatment, it is very difficult for them to come out of it. So, how do you do it? Many observed like these behavioral changes which I have told you, but again don't jump to conclusions without proof. This is something I have noticed with the teachers. They suddenly come to conclusion, oh no, he is a drug addict. He is the rotten apple. See, don't come to conclusion. And drug use is not necessarily drug abuse. See, there are many in the community who take 30 ml of alcohol every day night. I have seen them preaching it openly on Facebook or YouTube. The problem is not, but they are not drug addicts. They are not alcohol dependents. Abuse has different connotation, and proportion of adolescents who develop significant problems with drug use is relatively small compared to total number of users. If you really want to know, you go to this. There was I don't want to defame this one anyway. You go to some hotels in and around Manipal. The party, the atmosphere, that is enough. In fact, I have had instances where we had to pick some people from there because of the request of police. Okay, because the problem is they are either suffering from a psychological illness or they are suffering from addiction. They have been earlier treated at our center. And in fact, that atmosphere. So there are a lot of people who really use this substance. In that, almost 25% every year they graduate. It is like your BE, ME and PhD. Initial use, it is initially weekly drinking. I tell in Kannada, Varavella Dudita, Sunday Kudita, that is the first stage. Second stage is daily drinking. Dinavella Dudita, Sanje Kudita. Sunday Kudita becomes Sanje Kudita. Then the third stage is only Kudita, no Dudita. That is this dependence. This is how these people graduate. Your students also. That is why we have to discourage this social use. Many people, even many of my doctor friends, I remember once I was traveling to Bangalore. Those days mobile had just come. I received a call from a very senior doctor about a TV program, a recorded TV program in which I had spoken about addictions. He says, what is this? I told you, I know that doctors, lawyers, many of them drink daily. So he took objection. See, you should not tell all this. And he said, see, we are all not bad people. I never say they are bad people, but they are the vulnerable people. So what we need to tell our students is, this is not the way to, cope up with life. So then there comes this important issue, I will come to that. So what you should understand is, the strongest predictor of increased drug use is being labeled a drug user. Please understand this. In fact, when I spoke to Professor Rana, I was telling him this. One thing we should see is that we don't label this, because this will alienate them from the society. And he has less, what happens is, once he is pinpointed as a drug user, most of the students start avoiding him, most of the teachers avoid him. So what happens is, he cannot socialize. This is what has happened. Okay, whatever I say, you may feel it is bitter, but this has happened in every college. There is no point pointing out, stigmatizing, thinking that when you do this, he will improve. See, I will tell you, teacher's profession, one thing you should follow is, praise publicly, scold privately. If any of your student has done something wrong, please call him. Don't even call him to the staff room. Call him separate, talk to him about his wrongs. But something good he has done, praise him publicly. So please understand, one service you can do as trainers is not labeling them. Tell your other staff also, if they are doing gossip, if they are talking about a drug user, please tell him, no, this is not acceptable. And how do you approach them? So consider carefully who is the best person. See, there may be one staff member who has some rapport with students. There are teachers. How I have understood that is, you go to a college day function, if one particular staff is called, everybody whistles. These are some people who have very good rapport. So such people, and they should be of course more experienced in working with student problem related behaviors. Not everybody can handle it. I remember when my father was a principal here, Professor Kamalaksha, he was the most accessible and a daredevil. If there was a fight, he would go with a stick. I have seen it in my eyes, but loved by his students, because he was always impartial, always, what do you say, he was quite strict. I think Madam Maya, Geeta Maya will be knowing, like he was quite dynamic. Like that, there are people, and I have seen him advising students, convincing them, bringing them to treatment, and it is always advisable that people who deal with this, I told you about this concern, confidentiality, this is very important. And of course, choose an appropriate time and place. Don't do it like it is a usual human tendency to preach in front of everybody. You don't do it, you are ruining your parents, you are spoiling MIT's name, mighty MIT has become like this because of you, it will come in paper, this is not going to work. Please understand this. So choose an appropriate time, place, so that he is not embarrassed. Allow enough time for full discussion. See, I will tell you, a problem shared is problem halved. Allow this boy to talk. Ventilation is the most important part of counseling. This is often forgotten. Please give him time. He will tell you, however the reason may be very, what do you say, many times we will not be convinced. He will tell you, my father is like he is in loss, my mother has cancer, my sister has girlfriend, all this has created stress and I have got into this. It may be unconvincing for you, but hear him. Unless you hear him, nothing else is going to happen. Your talks or your lectures, as a psychiatrist, what I have understood is, instead of giving my mouth, I need to give my ear. Please understand this. So if he does not respond, there are people who don't respond, please respect their right to privacy. Do not try to force, force him for treatment, but you remain friendly, remain non-confrontational, don't pressurize him. And of course you can monitor the progress, offer appropriate support in other areas. Then slowly tell him, look, you are such a good student, but this thing is ruining you. Maybe you may think it is theoretical, but I will tell you, I have had students, clients who have come to me for years because I don't blame their drug abuse. They come whenever they have problems, they come, and at times, not everybody, I have realized they do want to come out of it. See, the very fact that they are coming, I will give you a real story. This is about a software engineer. He was having this problem of cannabis use, unmarried. His father, who was a respectable man in the society, used to bring him. Then it spread that he is consulting me and all, and I had a few of my friends, teachers calling me and telling me, see, he is coming but nothing is working. I told them the very fact that he is coming repeatedly says that it is working. And I will tell you, down the line, the last 3 years he is abstinent from this substance. And it was what paid was our patience and our respect to keep quiet about his drug use. In fact, most of the things were attributed to his drug use, but I felt the other way, I just kept my cool. Now, why I am sharing this with you is, there is no point forcing a student, but instead, as a mentor or as a counselor, if you really want to help him, just disregard this, go on helping him in other issues. Slowly he will realize that you have that first C, concern, and he also realizes you maintain confidentiality. then he will come to you. So they may be reluctant, and first thing is many of them do not recognize that they have a problem. Please understand this. This is the thing. You need to create awareness. Don't shy away from creating awareness. Because as I told you, many people think when we talk, you talked about drug abuse in MIT. That means it is very rampant. It's not true. Every college has problems with drug abuse. Let me tell you, whether it is MIT or whether some government college, some international repute organization, where there are students, there will be problem. There are no problem students, there are students with problems, and we need to help them. If you say my college nobody is like that, it means that something is wrong with you. Please understand this. It's not true. So, and always be aware of the, I have told you about this non-verbal, this one, and you need to pick it up. Now, what are the important, because there was Madam Geeta Maya told me to handle this refusal skills. See, many times how they get into this, let me tell you what happens. First is, please give me company. What they do is, we'll go to end point. You don't use, you come with me. This is how it starts. Then it's okay. I will tell your, if it is Nanu, I handle this alcoholics, I will tell your wife, you add little bit, nothing will happen. Salpa togo. So reassuring. Nobody will be angry with you. I will tell, I am a friend. I have brought scotch from Saudi. You take it, little bit special. So that, then anger. I am drinking, but nothing has happened to me. Do you think anybody calls me an alcoholic? You also take, nothing will happen. You mean to say I am bad person and you are Nin Gandhi Allah. Nanu tagolovan matra kettavana, yenagalla, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಗೋ. Then ridicule, I told you, no, you are a Gandhi, you are a waste. Challenging. Are you a slave to your wife? Because this is mainly, I handle this alcoholics. Here it will be, Amma ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀಯ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಹೆದರಿಕೆನಾ ನಿನಗೆ? ಥು. You are afraid of your mother? Nonsense. You are 19 years now. As per the constitution, you are already an adult. You can have a driving license. This is how they, what do you say, bully. And of course, threatening. You don't drink, no? You will not be in our group. You be in that, all that people are there. They will name that fellow, this fellow, all Gandhis, no? You be with them. Don't be with me. See, this is a social lubricant. This drug, no? Alcohol or cigarette, if you want to gel well with people, this is a big, what do you say, good thing for them. So they will, so students should be made aware of these pressure tactics. See, the most important thing is, we don't teach our students how to say no. It is not just students. There are lots of even adults. Let me tell you, we don't know how to say no. See, telling no, in fact, I remember the treatment, because I am very much interested in obesity. If people have seen me earlier, you will realize. I myself put a lot of my readings into practice. So the best exercise for obesity is just this, it seems. When somebody offers you something, you should say no. Okay. So what you should understand is, we should teach our students these skills. Saying no. No thanks, I have stopped drinking. Let me have tea or coffee. You drink. See, I have spent, I will say, at least 20% of my, what do you say, social life with people who drink. Earlier I used to drink soft drinks. Now that also I have stopped. Now I drink this soda with salt lime. So what happens is, one you can drink, second one, that also they will say, what a bore you are, doctor. So many of them stop calling me, that's okay. Okay, they should be told, they should be frank. In fact, we give them a card when they are on treatment for alcoholism, we give them a card about their treatment. So that they should say, look, I am on treatment, if I drink, I will collapse. Or I have an important engagement. In my earlier days, I remember many people used to ridicule me, some used to force me. Then I used to tell them, I have to do rounds in de-addiction ward, I have not yet done, so I will not take. Otherwise, they will not be, what do you say? See, I have seen as an adult how people force. And despite knowing the fact that I am working in the field of de-addiction. Now you can imagine your student, and I have to get up early, I have to work on double shift, and I have a headache, or I am just leaving. Please, if you force me like this, I am leaving. These are certain things which we need to tell them in a firm voice, and tell why he doesn't want, offer other ideas. If nothing is working, promptly leave. Say no, not maybe or later, maybe I will take next time. Then he will use it for the next time. You told last time, Bandari, you said you will drink next time, do it now. See, many of these people who force are not addicts, they do it unknowingly. Please understand this. And I do not want, it is not that let us not all stop. I remember when one religious person, he became head of one organization where people were socializing. He promptly announced that in my presidency, nobody will drink. By the time he told like this, he wrote it on the board, nobody will drink. When he came back, 50% had gone out of the hall. They said, we will not come to this particular thing. See, this will not work. And another thing is change the topic. If they force, if they see, look, I am not very comfortable. Otherwise, as I told you, have an exit plan. So, what you should understand is, I think I am coming towards the end. So, all this I have told you already, how to give a response. I am not interested, how a student can tell, or even sometimes give reasons, how parents may get angry, or some alternatives, let me do something else, not this. These sort of things you need to talk to the students. Many times they will ask you practical issues. As I told you about this person who was the only sober person in the class. Now how is she going to handle it? People are making fun of her, people are saying she is a Gandhi. These are all truths, these are practical issues, we need to handle this. Assertiveness training. In fact, this is where the role of our student counseling, student support center. In fact, most of the people working in student support center are known to me. Few of them are trained under me. So what I realize is, what I want to tell you is, assertiveness. This is something, okay, this is the role of a professional. When you refer to student support center, what they teach, these are certain things. A skill through which one can express one's rights and feelings without hurting others to the extent possible. It's not that you people are bloody alcoholics, you are spoiling the atmosphere, I am going to leave. No. See, I have decided I will not drink. Please respect my feelings. I am not going to drink. And you are doing in an environment where people are already intoxicated. They will make fun of you. They will pass bad remarks about you. Understand that. Now, towards the end, I will tell you what we do as psychiatrists, because you may be surprised. What is this? And you will be surprised that treatment rates, what is that, success rates, I don't go by it. Because you will be surprised, best of centers, the result is if 100 people come for treatment, only 20 to 30 people leave for 1 year. This is for alcohol. It's much less for opioids, cannabis, much less. So the first thing is we do detoxification. Detoxification means this fellow is drinking alcohol. When he stops alcohol, he develops tremors. He becomes sleepless. So these are all called Can you tell what do we call this? Withdrawal symptoms. So these withdrawal symptoms, we treat them, this is called as detox. It will take at least 1 week. We will add medicines which have cross tolerance. Many of you are from medical and chemistry and other, you know this term called cross tolerance. So what happens is, when they stop this drug, we give another drug, when we give another drug, which is not as bad as this. Because I will tell you, yesterday I got a doctor's son who is now addicted to tablet Librium. Because doctor gave him Librium, reading the book. So initially this boy was taking 4 Librium. He was initially drinking 1 bottle of whiskey. He was taking first 10 tablets, then it became 8, then became 4. Now, without father's consent, he is taking 40 tablets. So why I am telling you this is, beware. So detoxification has to be done by a trained professional psychiatrist, not even a doctor. So detoxification is the first stage. Then we start them on anti-craving drugs or aversive drugs. There are drugs which if they take it, and with that if they take alcohol, they vomit. Okay, these are aversive drugs. There are drugs which reduce the craving. In fact, see, I fully believe in scientific treatments, wherever it is. And one scientific treatment of alcoholism, I have seen this anti-craving. I can tell you umpteen number of cases where when we changed the anti-craving drug, I had a client, 58 years now of age, 2 years to retire from service. He has been coming to me for last 20 years. 4 years back, I changed him over to a drug called as naltrexone, and mind you, within 2 months I knew the results. He told me, sir, I am really finding difference from all other drugs. So many of these drugs work on our brain. Please understand, a lot of you are people of medicine, people with scientific background, biochemistry, chemistry. It is basically due to some chemical changes in the brain. In fact, they have very clearly identified that the nucleus accumbens, that is the pleasure center of the brain, it gets stimulated when they take alcohol, when they take these drugs. So the basic aim is to block that pleasure. There are drugs which block the pleasure. When they take this, they don't feel happy. Earlier they were feeling happy, now they don't feel happy. So the obvious thing is, if you are not getting pleasure with meeting somebody, if you get bored with him, will you go and meet him again? The same thing works here. Many people criticize scientific medicine, evidence-based medicine. You criticize, I have no problem. But I will tell you, I have got experience and I have seen that many people, these things work. Family counseling, this becomes very important. Many a times the disease is in the family, not in the person. A nagging mother, suspecting father, over punitive father, all these people, they will see that this child relapses. Many people develop codependence. The relatives, they develop codependence. So they feel, treat the family. Many a times it is a family illness. Treat psychological causes. I told you many of them drink because of depression. This is called as self-medication hypothesis. Many of them drink because of stress, stress relieving, anxiety, social anxiety, can't speak on stage. So take 30, come and speak confidently, go back. Shout at the principal, I want to go and shout at the principal, let me take 30, go there. Otherwise your friends will give you 30 so that you go and do the things on their behalf. So basically it is some psychological thing which is making them drink. And of course regular follow-up, this is where the role of student support center comes. Voluntarily you may have to force them to come for follow-up. In fact, it works wonders. In fact, in our hospital recently we have started this. If they don't come, we go to their house. We try to bring them back to treatment. Of course, we don't force them. In fact, for that we have made some measures like giving them a free bed for 2 days or 3 days, making them stay, come back to treatment. So regular follow-up, relapse prevention. We should teach these people how to prevent a relapse, how to avoid certain places, how to avoid certain people, and of course, how many of you are from MIT here? Can you please raise your hands? Okay, very big number. How many of you know that there is an Alcoholic Anonymous group in MIT? 1, 2, 3, 4. Every Wednesday, of course, now because of COVID, they are meeting online. See, Alcoholic Anonymous, I will come to the last another 2 slides. I think another 2-3 minutes I will finish it off. So this is a very big, as I told you, I am a very big votary of scientific medicine, but I will never say no when somebody else is also helping us. And one such group is Alcoholic Anonymous. The knowledge about it is very less. I think students should be made aware of this Alcoholic Anonymous group. Referring them directly to this Alcoholic Anonymous group also is needed. Regular follow-up, if possible, with one family member. Avoid stigma. Supervised drug screen with consent. See, for students in my practice, what I am doing is I do what is called a surprise drug screen. In fact, when he is being discharged, I take it in writing. I take it in writing from him and his father or somebody who has brought. In fact, I have at least, I can remember 8 names who are coming to me for the last 1 year, and all the 8 have been subjected to drug screen. And mind you, 2 of them were caught. They, even before the screen, they told, I knew you are going to catch me. This is what they say, but they still come. And setting up of Narcotic Anonymous, probably the student welfare you should think of, not only Alcoholic Anonymous, Narcotic Anonymous, something like this should come up. You can discuss with the Department of Psychiatry, KMC, where they do get this, at least they can refer, they can tell them that at this particular place. See, in this, we professionals should not involve. We should help them, we should give them the space, allow them to run it. So, Narcotic Anonymous, and somebody is relapsing repeatedly, refer him for rehabilitation. Don't leave him, okay, this is an apple which cannot be, what do you say, set right. So, cut it, throw it. That is not possible. Try to refer him for rehabilitation. Of course, I don't need to teach Manipal, because I myself, I am a biggest beneficiary of this marina. In fact, now it is closed, but improved gym, spread awareness, I am sorry for the spelling, spread awareness of fitness, extracurricular activities, these are very much needed. Again, in MIT, I have seen how they do even this, what is that, car, new things, new designs, your innovation center. See, these things are necessary. Extracurricular activities in every college needs to be encouraged, because this can be a biggest stress reliever. In fact, many people, when they call me for these lectures, I happily agree. You know why? One is my preparation. In fact, you won't believe this entire thing I prepared yesterday in court. I had a court. So, you know, in court I have to wait for 1 hour. So, I usually take these old invitations, whichever I have, I write behind. In that, I made all my slides, and in fact, the whole thought, because I was training the trainers, what are the important things I need, my old collection. So, I am away from my routine practice. So, I feel these extracurricular activities, in fact, my father, who is probably the force behind all my work and even coming here today, because he was the director of this place, what I noticed was he always used to encourage extracurricular activities. He did it in me, he did it in his students. So, please understand, these extracurricular activities can be a big source of stress relief. Don't think that it is a waste. Somebody, your college magazines are really beautiful, I will tell you. I will tell you, it is a national quality. If you look at the discussions, how they have, in fact, I remember during my dad's time, they contacted Abdul Kalam, went and met him. Those days there was no these selfies, gilfies and all. They used to take photos and, I mean, he's real, this one and all. So, your students are really, they are treasures. They have lots of ways to relieve stress. The problem is colleges usually don't know the importance of this. This needs to be taken, and of course, the role of counseling cells. because many of you are, how many of you are from the counseling cell here? Okay. So basically, one thing already Madam Geeta Maya told in her address, I am very happy. Peer counselors. See, I would suggest you should talk to Dr. Shalini Sharma about it, probably how she has built up the peer counselors at NITTE, NMA, MIT. I will tell you, it's really, I will tell you one case study before I end. This is about a son of a policeman from Gulbarga. See, he joined NITTE, and you know, NITTE is as cosmopolitan as Manipal. Lot of, what do you say, these hi-fi students, and they speak tine-tui English and dress colorfully. And this boy, he decided by 20 days that he will leave the college. He has got a government seat, and this boy, in fact, what he did was, he wrote a letter saying that to his father, those days, okay, that he cannot survive in this place, he would rather come back. Father called him to the hostel and told him, if you come back, I will end my life, because I have high hopes on you. Okay. Now, why I am telling you the story of this boy is, this boy even wrote a suicide note. One friend of his, in fact, that boy even now I am in touch with, not the boy who was who wrote the suicide note, the boy who helped him. See, he read this note, he immediately cautioned the student center, and within half an hour, this policeman's son was in my office. They brought him by vehicle. They have such a system. See, these peer counselors can play a very important role. In fact, I can give you stories like this, even how a mobile addict, how alcohol addict have been helped by these peer counselors. Peer counselors, professional counselors, and more important is a regular follow-up. Very important. In drugs, in drug abuse, follow-up is the mainstay. So to end, I will say this is a Chakravyuha. Please understand this. All our Abhimanyus, they know very well how to get into it. They know how to get the drugs. Okay? They know it comes from courier. They can get it through darknet. Every information people will give them, but nobody will give them the information to come out. Probably that's what we have to do. This Nasha Mukt Abhiyan, I would compliment the government. I rarely compliment the government, but let me tell you, I would compliment the government for taking up this project and taking this, and I compliment MIT, because what I have seen is the sincerity with which they are working. I am sure it will yield good results. Probably I was just discussing with Professor Bunil, we can have some programs in the community, basically to sensitize, because the first grade colleges, the students, we need to inform them more about this, and we need to sensitize them. I am sure I saw the way you are doing things like webinars, then also educating, training the trainers, then also trying to use the social media. These are the things need of the hour. I am sure this will be a very big boon to our district. This particular program, I compliment Manipal Academy of Higher Education for taking up this in the right earnest, and I am sure under the leadership of Dr. Geeta Maya, we will be able to do more and continue this to the community, so that more and more people understand. What our students need to understand is, say no to the first puff, say no to the first peg. If they can do that, they'll really they'll have a better life. So I thank all of you for a patient listening. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to add that the peer counseling cell here in MIT is doing wonders for your kind consideration, sir. This is a time for question and answer.
Yeah. Okay. See, this Alcoholic Anonymous is a group which was found in somewhere around 1935 or 38, subject to one of these 2 years. one was a doctor, another was a share broker, both were alcoholics. So they started it, now it is there in almost some 120 countries. What they do is, they sit in a group. The only qualification for entering this group is he should not, he should be consuming alcohol, and he wants to come out of it. Even if he drinks and goes, it is okay for them. It is run by their own people. What they do is, for example, here there is a retired police inspector. He himself was treated for alcoholism. He shares his how he came out of it. So many times it works wonders. I have seen even a software engineer getting attracted to it, a bank officer getting attracted to it, this concept, because they will tell how they suffered, what were the steps they had to take, how many times they were admitted, what mistakes they used to do, and they have some beautiful concept. They base it on some 12 traditions they follow. Okay, so now certain principles they have is what is called as this concept of rock bottom. They say unless and until he hits rock bottom, nela kachchida mele avanige buddhi barutte anta. So they say, okay, let him drink, but he should come to the meeting. And they follow what is called as one day at a time. Ivattu nanu kudiyalla. That should be the aim with which he goes, and that one day becomes every day. So slowly they transform people. In fact, in a meeting, there are two types of meeting. One is closed meeting, where they don't allow anybody else other than these alcoholics. There are open meetings, where they invite people like me. They can, even if you are interested, you can discuss with them and go. So in that open meeting, what they do is, they tell what is this concept, how it came about. See, it basically works on what is this group therapy principles. What I have noticed is, when there is what is called as catharsis, somebody, his problems, he will just ventilate. So he starts with, I am so and so, I am an alcoholic. See, they believe once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Even if he leaves, he has left. This police inspector is off alcohol for the last 23 years. But still when he talks, he says, he'll hold his hand like this and he says, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. They believe in some extra force which is going to control them. Of course, I am not into that. What I am telling you is, I am more interested in finding out how many of my clients are interested in it, refer them. Of course, there are some people who will tell, sir, bore sir, avaru maatadide maatadtare, nange alone kalispedi. Such people also are there, but they are in minority. Most of the people who go there, especially these people of lower social, and it is totally free. Mind you, that I love the altruism they have. In fact, I have seen they leave alcohol, they bring people for treatment, they put their money and give treatment. So many things occur. These are certain things which we need to study from them, learn from them. So that altruism, and of course this one of normal. See, okay, there are many people like me. They have left, so I also can leave. See, this is something which this spirit is fostered by Alcoholics Anonymous. So we have seen it work well in the community. Of course, lot of things are there which there are strong Alcoholics Anonymous fanatics who will say, like in any other group, who will say, don't go and take treatment from de-addiction centers. So usually I don't involve in their politics. See, my concept is, let 100 de-addiction centers come to Udupi, because I didn't venture into this statistics. In fact, Professor Rana, when he started, he told you will be surprised. Every district has a minimum 2 lakhs alcohol, problem drinkers, 2 lakhs. So you just imagine, can one institution cater to it? We need strategies like this group. We need more rehabilitation centers to come up. Only thing is, I wish they are managed professionally by professionals. Because what we have seen is this, they punish they admit and punish them, make them wash the floor, so many things. Such things should not occur. But Alcoholic Anonymous, it's an outpatient thing. I mean, we don't even call them patients. Okay. So even in our hospital, they run the group every Saturday. On that day, we allow one room for them, and we don't interfere. They'll come up. They feel disgruntled sometimes with the arrangements we have made and all. We accept it and we agree, and we will do it. So we as professionals should not involve. Even you as mentors, or if you want to help your student, refer. Don't involve in their politics. And they don't charge any money. What they do is, for tea, each one of them will put 1 rupee or 2 rupees. Yeah, in open meetings, when I have gone, if I am going to give it, they return it. They say, we don't accept from you. So it's something. See, what I have noticed is, if your interests are selfless, such institutions grow. And one such institution is Alcoholic Anonymous. Because what I have seen is, despite so many things, like we professionals are against it. I have many of my own teachers who have told me, you are working with personality disorders, those people are such things. Let me tell you, it's not true. And I have gained lot of experience from them. And what I feel is, it works in some. We need to encourage it. And in MIT, that's what I was telling Professor Rana. You know, it started in 2000. Now it is 2021. They were meeting in the architecture block every Wednesday till this COVID crisis came. So 20 years they have worked there. They have never created any problem for the establishment. And there have been times where I have addressed, I think Samant is here. Samant knows actually what is happening, and he knows how many people have been benefited by that. Mind you, I have seen a crowd of 150 in this MIT campus who have sat together, including many of your employees, who have said, I am an alcoholic, I will always be an alcoholic, but I will be out of it. One day at a time. So this is for all of you working in this field, this is a very interesting area where very few professionals dare to treat. Please do take it very seriously. I really thank Professor for your question on Alcoholic Anonymous.
I have one, it's not a question actually. One of the faculty from MIT, his name is Kishore. He is now quarantining. He is now watching our program live. So he has written to you, sir, saying that thank you, Dr. Bandari, sir, for an informative session, which helps us in helping students to come out of this. So that's what he mentioned, so I have to tell you. And as you said, sir, peer counseling group, we have peer support system. So that is working very well here. Any student is having any problem, you don't believe during lockdown time, and I'll give it to you. Lockdown time, we got a call from one of the students in that support team, and making use of that particular message, and we could save that boy. So that team is working very well, sir. More than 100 cases we have handled very well. So that's what I want to tell you. And also, as you said, we have to, people who are having they are into that substance abuse, you should not look into them saying that they are the culprits, all those things. So we have to see what are the root causes made them into all those things. So thank you so much for that informative session, sir. Looking forward to you for next session.
Good morning, sir. I have a question. You just said that when some students come to you who are who are drug addicts or who are going through the drug abuse. So you said that you are going to give them some drugs which is less harmful and all of it. So I would like to know, are there psychiatrists or have you ever tried sports therapy? Because you said that you ask them to go to gym so that their stress level decreases or keep them occupied physically. So how have you followed the sports therapy? Because we have a good team of physical education staffs here who are looking forward to take up such cases.
See, basically, one thing I would like to tell you is, in fact, because of shortage of time, I didn't delve into it much. Indulging themselves in sports itself can give a high. This is what I would like to convey to the student community. See, there are what is called as these endogenous opioids which are released in our body when we play, when we participate in sports. So that is why I put up this photo of our Marina. See, Marina itself can be addictive. I have personally experienced it. In fact, what used to happen was, I used to go to Marina twice a day. I think Jeevan knows that period. So I had even, in fact, I have reduced almost around 15 kgs now. There was a time when I had reduced 30 kgs. So that was the time I was going twice a day. It was so addictive that at 7:30, if any patient comes, I used to shout at him because I want Marina closes by 9. So I wanted to be in Marina. The problem was practical. I had to change my dress, go into this Marina dress, then enter, then come back. I used to shout at them. Then I realized I am really developing some sort of addiction to get away from it. But these sports can create lot of that feeling of high, feeling of well-being. So definitely sports, you use the word sport therapy. Definitely it is a well-taken comment. Probably every institution and especially our physical education directors, I am told many of you are here, you can play a big role in inculcating this, love for some sport, because these are the things which are lost when you come to professional colleges. What happens is they don't encourage. See, this every time India wakes up regarding sports is only during Olympics. When we get very few, this one especially, now it is we are started comparing with China, and the right attitude we are having is, okay, we are better than Pakistan. That is the problem. Okay, so now basically sports is the mainstay. Sports is not only for gold medal, or sports is not for Asian Games or Olympics. It is for well-being of our students. So if we can entertain cycling regularly, I think now in MIT campus they are not allowed bikes, right? So these sort of things, and also probably this regular cycling, some as a sport activity. Unfortunately in Manipal you cannot cycle, because if you have to cycle, then you have to have an insurance of 5 lakhs so that any day you will enter the casualty. That is the problem. Probably we need to work out some things by which our students will regularly indulge themselves in sports activity. Sports as a therapy is really well taken, and I think the physical education directors also should think of this as a therapy. Very, apt this one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I profusely thank you, Dr. P.V. Bhandari, for enlightening us, and this session was very useful and educative.